Good morning, adventurers. My name is Ben, and welcome to a morning show where I sit around, drink some tea, and talk about D&D. Mmm, man, that is hot. One of these days, I will get used to the fact that tea is hot when you don't let it sit for a little bit before you start drinking it. Anyway, not the point, not what we're here to talk about. First up in D&D news, there is no real D&D news on this wonderful Monday. With the exception of the fact that we are expecting Fizban's Treasury of Dragons in about 2 weeks now. I got nothing for you. There's nothing really that has happened over the weekend here that seems to be of any consequence so far. I might be wrong. Let me know if I'm wrong because I would love to know if I missed something, but I don't think I did. So far, no news. No news. And the only stream that I actually know of that is happening today is Into the Mist at 7 p.m. Eastern Time at twitch.tv/DND. That is the official D&D Twitch channel, obviously. So if you're looking for that, or if you have been keeping up with that, go check that out. I'm pretty sure it's happening. I'm pretty sure they're right in the middle of the campaign. I'm working sort of off of more of a general schedule than a specific knowledge of exactly what is going on all the time in all of these streams. So hopefully I'm right there. But it should be going on. If not, there's always just going onto Twitch and searching Dungeons and Dragons because there are always people streaming this game on the internet somewhere if you are looking to watch something. So that is it for news and streams. Pretty much nothing across the board there. So we are going to go ahead and we are going to dive into Bards today because we are working our way through all the core classes on every single Monday for the rest of this year. And that means that today we're talking about Bards. Oh, but first, we have to do T&D because that's a huge part of this show now. So today, my mug is a monster stat block for a mug. If the camera would focus, you'd be able to see it a little better. There we go. Kind of. I got this actually at a convention. It was a very exciting find. I like it a lot. It's a lot of fun in my mind. I'm having a apple cinnamon spice herbal tea today. You might be thinking, isn't that just apple cider but sadder? You would be correct, but it also is a lot less like sugary and intense, so it's a nice like little lead into the day if you are not looking to wake up with a mouthful of crazy apple juice. I love apple cider, but sometimes you need something that's just kind of a little flavor of it. So that's what I got going today. Anyway, now we can get into bards. As most people know, bards are the spellcasters that weave magic through song and story, through performance, and generally, usually, the face of the party. Bard in 5th edition is a good, viable class. I don't know from personal experience, but I've heard from a lot of different people that Bard in early editions was just not really a particularly good class to actually play. But in 5th edition, they have made them viable, which is phenomenal because you gotta love a good charisma character most of the time. Most of the time. Not always, but most of the time. So I am a big fan of the fact that there are bards in the world that are good and worth actually playing. And we're going to talk about the subclasses, obviously, at the end of this. You guys kind of know how this goes at this point. But let's just go ahead and dive into what the bards get as they go through their level progressions here. Shall we? First up, at first level, obviously, you get spellcasting because you're a core spellcaster. One of the charisma classes, or charisma caster classes of the game. Bards use charisma as their spellcasting ability. Also, at first level, you pick up Bardic Inspiration, D6 Bardic Inspiration, which allows you to, as a bonus action, give one of your allies within, I believe it's 60 feet of you, this use of Bardic Inspiration, which they can add to an ability check, saving throw, or attack roll at their choosing. You can use this a number of times equal to your charisma modifier per long rest. this die levels up as we go through, and we'll talk about that as we get to it. Moving on to second level, you pick up Jack of All Trades and Song of Rest. Jack of All Trades lets you add half of your proficiency bonus to any skill / ability check that you are not proficient in. So if you are not proficient in, I don't know, insight, you still get to add half of your proficiency bonus to all of your insight checks. And this extends to general ability checks. So if you are making a general charisma check, you can't be proficient in general charisma checks. So you still get to add half of your proficiency bonus to that. Rounded down, obviously. That's how most things in D&D work. No big deal. But that extends so far as to apply to initiative bonuses, because initiative is a specialized dexterity check. So make sure if you are running a bard that you keep that in mind and you add that to your initiative bonus, because that is one of the cool things that you get with Jack of All Trades. Song of Rest, when you take a short rest, you can use your Song of Rest, and any friendly creatures that can hear you within 30 feet of you gain, at this level, D6 additional hit points that they are restoring if they are using hit dice to restore hit points at this point, which is great, honestly. Just free extra hit points might save them a hit die, might save them a little bit of headache later on if they are suddenly in a pinch where they need hit dice and they just don't have any left. Moving on to level 3, you pick up your Bard College, your subclass. It's pretty universal unless for some reason you get it at level 1 or on the very rare occasion level 2, as well as Expertise. Expertise gives you double proficiency in select skills. For bards, you get 2 of the proficiencies that you have that you can take expertise in. These are specifically skill expertises. You can't do this in saving throws. That would be fantastic. So you are able to double your proficiency bonus with those associated skills. So if you are proficient in persuasion and you have an 18 charisma score at this point, that is a +4 +2 for your proficiency bonus plus another 2 for your expertise. So you are getting a +8 on that roll, which is frankly phenomenal. Bards and rogues are the 2 classes that get this inherently, and it is one of the things that really sort of sets them apart, really makes people want to play them a lot more. Skipping over level 4 because it's an ability score improvement. Level 5, your inspiration goes up to a D8. So now you get all the same things you had before, but you get a D8 instead of a D6 to give out to people. And you also pick up Font of Inspiration, which allows you to recharge your Bardic Inspiration dice on a short rest as well as a long rest. When you get it, it's just a long rest. When you hit level 5, you pick it up to a short rest as well, which is great because honestly, it lets you dole out a lot more inspiration throughout the day, because the odds are pretty good that you're going to have some other sort of short rest class in your party that is going to need to take at least 1 short rest a day between encounters. So never a bad thing to be able to have abilities that recharge on a short rest. It actually kind of turns bards into a semi-short rest class because inspiration is one of their core features. A lot of the subclasses play off of the inspiration. Moving forward to level 6, you pick up Counter Charm as well as a subclass feature, but it's just, that's a subclass feature. Counter Charm lets you begin this counter charming ability. You start a performance counter charming ability that lasts until the end of your next turn, so you can re-up it on your turn in the future. During that time, you and any friendly creatures within 30 feet of you have advantage on saving throws against being frightened or charmed. The performance ends early if you end up silenced for some reason, or if you end up incapacitated, like if you get knocked out. You also could voluntarily end it in that time, but it doesn't hurt you to just keep it going. Like it doesn't use up your action on the next turn as well. So there's no super good reason to do it unless there is a very hyper specific situational sort of reason that you wouldn't want to keep it going. Anyway, moving forward to level 9, skipping over the ability score improvement that you get at 8. Your Song of Rest goes up to a D8, so same deal as before with the Song of Rest, except it is now a D8 instead of a D6. At level 10, your inspiration kicks up to a D10. Again, Same deal as before with inspiration, except now it is a D10 to dole out instead of a D8. Again, moving forward, at 13th level, your Song of Rest goes up to a D10. I think you're noticing a theme here, right? You just sort of incrementally bump these up. Your Song of Rest goes up to a D10. So now your Song of Rest is a D10 on short rests. At 14th level, you get not only a subclass feature, but you also get Magical Secrets, which is one of the coolest features in any spellcasting class, in my opinion. Because Magical Secrets allows you to take spells from different class lists. So the Bard spell list is good. It is very utility, though. A lot of the time, there are definitely some good damage spells and everything on there, too. But Magical Secrets allows you to pick literally any spell in the game and add it to your spell list so long as you have the ability to cast a spell of that level. I think it's of that level. Yes. Choose 2 spells from any class, including this one. A spell you choose must be of a level you can cast. So you get to pick 2 of any spell in the game, as so long as you can cast them, and add them to your spell list, and they count as Bard spells for you for no additional cost, essentially. Which means that you can pick up a phenomenal healing spell if you need to from like the cleric list or something like that, or you can pick up some crazy damage spell from the sorcerer or wizard list, or you can get some of those super specific warlock spells that only warlocks get, because there are a weird number of those actually. Any 2 spells that you want, pull them, add them to your list. Wow. At 15th level, you kick up your inspiration to a D12 from a D10. So now your inspiration is a D12. Ta-da. At 17th level, you pick up to a D12 for your Song of Rest. Those 2 are maxed out now. They can't go any higher than that. At 18th level, you get Magical Secrets again for 2 more spells, which is awesome because now you have the ability to cast 9th level spells, which means that you can pick any 9th level spells you want in the game, any 8th level, 7th level, etc., all the way down. But you have access as a bard. If you hit 18th level, you can pick literally any spell you want in the game to cast, which is so good. Actually, not even 1. You get to pick 2 of them. Now, don't get me wrong. You could pick up a cantrip with that if you want, but you can pick any leveled spell you want in the entire game, which is phenomenal. And then, skipping past the ASI, at level 19, level 20, you get Superior Inspiration, where if you roll initiative and you have no uses of Bardic Inspiration left, you get 1. So you always have some inspiration going into combat, which is good because a lot of these subclass features do play off of that. So don't get me wrong, it is good. It just feels like an interesting choice for it to be like the top thing you get, as opposed to like Magical Secrets, where you get to pick up superpowered spells from any spell list you want. But that's just my opinion on, the structure of the whole thing. Not really the point, though. So anyway, let's move on to the Bard subclasses, right? The Bards are so interesting because, as I mentioned before, they are a largely utility class. At least in my mind they are. They have a phenomenal spell list packed with utility spells. They get Magical Secrets so they can pick up any spells that they want from the game. But they are, in my mind, inherently utility casters. If you don't know what utility casters are, they are the casters that buff and debuff and help sort of control the battlefield. A lot of times I will separate out control and utility, but in this case, they do go together very well. So it's interesting to try and categorize these, because a lot of the time you can be like, oh, this is the damage dealer, this is your support class, this is your defensive class, that sort of thing. That doesn't really work as much with the Bard because they are all built around utility, again, in my mind. So I've got some weird classifications that I'll try and expand on as I go through here. Okay, so stick with me on this one. First up, we have the College of Creation Bard. I said that this is your storyteller / support class because I think that this is the most support-based of all of the Bard subclasses, and with it being the College of Creation, they are focused thematically around like storytelling and creating and talking about creation. So they are an interesting one to be sure. It's actually the one that I have read the least about so far. I've read it a couple of times, but I haven't seen it interacted with a ton, and I'm excited to get to dig a little bit deeper on it because I do think it is a really cool concept. It has a lot of different options within the subclass itself, of like things you can do with the different features. But that also makes it a little bit more complicated. But it is what lends it to being a more support-based subclass in my mind. Moving forward, we have the Eloquence Bard, which is obviously the speaker, the face of the party. The Most bards are going to be your face of the party anyway, but this one has the very specific at level 3 feature that gives you the inability to roll below a 10 on persuasion or charisma. And when I say roll below a 10, I mean any roll of 9 or less on the die you treat as 10, and then you add your modifiers. So if you've got an 18 and then you add on an expertise in there, you are starting with a base roll of 18 or more on those rolls, because you get your 10 plus your 8 plus whatever else you might have coming in on that, which is ludicrous, right? And it's also based in like speeches that you can give to your allies or use to like unsettle enemies and stuff like that to like help buff and debuff, because that's kind of what a bard does. But their big thing is that they're going to be your face of the party pretty much every single time. Though their 14th level feature is pretty cool too, where you can kind of like you can bounce inspiration off of other players. Essentially, it's kind of hard to explain without just reading the passage and then unpacking it. I'm not going to do that because that's boring, but it is pretty cool. Moving forward, you've got your Glamour Bards. These are your all eyes on me, center of attention performance bards, which again feels weird to say because all of them are kind of like that. But these are the ones that have features that back up the center of attention, drawing focus to them kind of bards, which is cool because so often bards are great for utility and they are, socially in the center of things, but this actually gives them a mechanical reason to try and put themselves in the middle of everything. Lore Bards, which is the next one, College of Lore, I have written down here that they're the masters of stuff. Just stuff. Lore Bards are a great subclass because their level 6 feature is that they get magical secrets. So they get another bout of magical secrets starting at level 6, which means that early on they can pick up spells from other people, right? And I said that the Lore Bards are masters of stuff because they get extra proficiencies at 3rd level. They get these magical secrets. They can use their bardic inspiration to reduce attack rolls and damage rolls that are coming into them. And then they can inspire themselves as their 14th level feature. They are the masters of doing stuff, which is cool. Like, I love a good lore bard. If you watch Critical Role, Scanlan from Campaign 1 is a lore bard, and Sam plays that perfectly. Like, it's fantastic. Lore bards are great, and there's a reason that they are kind of the default if you're looking for just a bard to play. Moving forward, we've got the College of Spirits Bard. This one kind of fills in itself. It is your ghost stories terror kind of bard. Though there is another one that I also have billed as terror later on, and we'll get to that obviously in a second. This one is it's just cool. Like, honestly, the flavor around it is cool because you are like this almost medium sort of character. That is the goal for the flavor of the class. And you try and the idea of it is that you're manipulating spirits to help you out, and it's got a lot of cool flavor to it. The mechanical benefits are there, but mostly you show up for the flavor for this one, honestly. After spirits, you have Swords Bards, College of Swords Bards. This is really straightforward. I have written down that they are the Swordsmen. They are the ones that are encouraged to use melee weapons, martial weapons, that sort of thing. They get all sorts of different flourishes that they can do with their swords. Like they can use their bardic inspiration to like add little bits to their attack, which is cool. Kind of like a pseudo battle master fighter kind of thing, which obviously we'll talk about when we get to battle master fighter. And they get extra attack, which if you're going to be a swordsman, you kind of need an extra attack. Moving forward from these College of Swords, we have the College of Valor, which I also have written down as Swordsman, parentheses ish. This one is, it's almost like a squire more than like a specific swordsman, but not really, because they also have like extra attack and stuff like that. And like when they attack as their top feature, when they attack, they can use their bonus action, or when they cast a spell, they can use a bonus action to attack. So like they're still swordsmen, but their features are less focused on themselves and more focused on like being that sort of support class still in combat, and not having to choose between doing damage or casting a control / support spell. So they are the swordsman light almost, because they have these other features in there as well. And finally, we come to the College of Whispers, which is the other one I have billed as Terror. They are the shadowy sort of like more sketchy dealy kind of bards, I guess. I don't know. They're the ones that like operate more in the shadows. If you're gonna build a criminal, an Eloquence or a Whispers bard is probably gonna be your best bet. These Whispers bards deal more in like specifically fear-based effects in their enemies, which is cool. It is tough because a lot of their stuff relies on charm, and a lot of higher level things are, immune to charm. So it becomes a little bit more difficult to use at a higher level for some of these features. However, they are still super cool. They are fantastic in social settings, as most bards are, obviously. But they feel less like a combat subclass and more like a active sort of utility subclass, which there's nothing wrong with. A lot of these bard subclasses are kind of that way. A lot of the charisma based subclass, like charisma forward subclasses, are going to be that way, and the fact that a bard is a charisma caster, it just sort of builds that way inherently anyway. Oh boy. So that is the bard class in a general rundown for you. Bards are amazing. You should have a bard at your table always. Honestly, they are so fun. They are so great. Similar to how barbarians are sort of like the backbone of your like tanky damage, bards are often going to be the backbone of your social encounters, as well as a lot of those utility support spells. Paired with like a cleric, it's really hard to get around a like dual support, dual utility, dual control caster combo like that, if that is the way that both those players are playing that character. Definitely give bards a look. They are actually a really forgiving class overall. I was going to say subclass, but that's not right. They're a really forgiving class overall, because they are a learned spellcaster, so you don't have to deal with preparing from your full list of spells every single time. Because they're a learned caster, you can substitute spells out when you gain levels in the class, just inherently, which is good, because if you find a spell you don't like and you're like, oh, well, okay, you can switch it out still without being totally married to it. But they are just good too. That's the thing, right? Like, they're just good. Because you can play a bard with a sword. You can play a bard who only spellcasts. You can play a bard who doesn't really fight. They are a super, super flexible class. And that is something that not all of the classes can necessarily say. So definitely, if you're thinking about playing a spellcaster, if you want to be somebody that engages in roleplay a lot, think about picking up a charisma-based spellcasting class. Think about playing a bard, especially, because with the expertise, you are forgiven a lot more on some of these skill checks, because you can just work your way out of it eventually. And with any of these subclasses, you have just so much meat and like flavor to pull from that honestly you're not going to be short on ideas for your character as a whole. And I think that's everything I have to say about bards. I like them a lot. I think you should play them if I haven't made that clear at this point. So, with that, thank you so much for tuning in, for making me part of your morning routine. I really do appreciate it. Like, follow, subscribe, whatever the stuff is that you're watching. I don't know. I think it's just subscribe here. But follow along to continue to have this be part of your morning routine. I really do appreciate it, and the more of you that do, the longer I will be able to do it. And thank you especially to all of my patrons. You guys are the ones that are making the show possible. The link to my Patreon is in the description of this video. If you are able to support the show, I would very much appreciate it. You'll also be added to a Discord server where you can give me ideas for topics to talk about on the show. If there's something you want to see talked about, or if there are streams that you want to see me highlight on this show, join my Patreon, and you'll be entered into this forum to be able to actually talk about it. But that is everything that I have for you guys today. Thank you so much, and until next time, keep on rolling.